Hello, and welcome to another VanChat Tuesday. And in this one, we're going to cover a topic that quite a few people are talking to us about lately, and whether it's family members that are saying, listen, we've got a friend who's thinking of going out, setting up themselves a full-time van life, or whether it's people contacting us via Instagram or email.
YouTube comments and things like that. Yeah.
So the first thing I want to talk about is when we moved out of our house and we got rid of the house, got rid of the mortgage, it was like a weight off our shoulders that we don't have to pay anybody a massive amount of money anymore every month for where we live. Ours is paid for. And you know, even if it's a basic van that you've built yourself, so your van might be a couple of grand builder's van, you spent a few thousand doing it up inside, it's now yours, it's paid for. No one can turf you out. It's your home, and you're going to feel this sense of, well, from us, it's like just a relief that you don't, you're not owed, or you're not owing somebody for where you live. Your home is now yours.
Yeah, and it's obviously a whole lot less. So just knowing that the pressure is off if you work, that you know that if something happens and you have to do fewer shifts or something changes with the way you work, that the pressure's not there, because everybody that I know lives to their means anyway.
Yeah.
So you're always right up there with everything, and obviously you reduce that greatly by living in a van, and suddenly it makes things seem more attainable, and it seems like the pressure is off a lot because there's a lot more room between the end of the money and the end of the month.
Yeah, as an example, a lot of people asked us quite recently about the given the COVID sort of circumstances, do you feel that you should have kept your house? And it's quite the opposite, actually. Due to COVID, we would have had far less income, and therefore we wouldn't have been able to pay the mortgage.
Yeah.
So we'd have been more indebted to the mortgage provider.
Yeah.
So we'd been paying that money for longer, and
you see all the stuff on the news about the nightmare that people have had with the mortgage breaks and things, and we'd have been in with them. We wouldn't have benefited at all from keeping the house, especially with COVID. And even beforehand, the added relief of getting rid of that massive mortgage was part of why we did it. We had to do that, otherwise it wouldn't have been the wonderful thing it's been.
Yeah. So something as a completely balanced view we found as well is there's an idyllic kind of image portrayed on Instagram of van life, and some YouTubers' videos out there do portray it in a certain way, and from our perception we wanted to kind of show you that it isn't like that every day. It can be. You have the option of putting your van wherever you want, and the concept of living in a van is you're outside more, so you'll see more natural beauty, but it might be slightly different than what you see on Instagram. It isn't going to be outside in the sun with bikinis on, cooking lovely foods and stuff like that every day.
Especially not in the UK anyway.
No.
I mean, more often than not, you've got in the most, we've got a nice view. Every now and again we have outstanding views.
Yes.
And then more often than not, we're in a car park somewhere because it's raining, and or we can't park up where we want to park up, and we don't want Cooper to get wet all the time,
or muddy and that.
So we're doing that. But one thing we have found is that when we were weekend warriors, for instance, we'd have a bad weekend, we'd go away, the weather would be terrible, we couldn't find a park up. We don't like planning ahead for booking campsites and things, so in peak season or whatever we couldn't find anywhere, and the one thing that we do would be to go home. Yeah. And we can't do that now.
No.
There's no home to go to. You're kind of floating out. It's like, right, well, we should go back. But where's back?
Yeah, and this... Sorry about the rain
It's
as well.
just started raining.
And this can lead to some great highs because of the places you'll find, and you want to stay there for days, and it's amazing, and you want to take pictures. But it can also lead to quite epic lows as well, because you haven't got that option to go somewhere else, or go back to somewhere else. This is it. This little box is your home now. You might at best have a family member's house or something to go and visit.
Your parents or whoever you can go and stay with on their driveway or whatever, if you don't, and don't take that for granted. That is wonderful to be able to have that. It's a fantastic fallback.
Yeah, but please make sure you've got a mechanism, something that you recognise in yourself, people that you can talk to over the phone or text. So if you ever do get in that situation, you've got someone to talk to, because it can get a bit lonely as well.
Yeah.
So we've got each other, but sometimes each other actually is half of the problem as well. We might feel a bit like
Yeah.
So always make sure you've got a mechanism to get yourself communicating in a positive way with someone else.
Yeah. It's always nice to have backup people if you can.
And kind of like leading on from what I've just spoke about these idyllic spots and everything, finding places to park up in the UK can be quite tricky. Local councils somewhat got a very odd view of people living in vans, that they think we're going to come and trash the place or whatever, and they'll stop you. So it can be that you might travel 3 or 4 spots before you'll find a park up. Using campsites is our little backup solution for that, and that's a great way to do it. We're on a campsite right now. It's the second campsite we've been to on 2 weeks worth of touring around Scotland. So that's the way to do it. You might find though that if you can't stay somewhere overnight, sort of like free park ups, or if you're a bit unsure, uneasy about it, then staying on a campsite for 30 days every month becomes really expensive.
Yeah, some do deals if you stay there for, well, they don't do more than 28 days usually, do they? But yeah.
So that's one aspect to it. The other aspect is get prepared for winter to be even worse, because all the smaller campsites start to close down because they've got grass pitches, and therefore in the winter they're not going to have all the camper vans and motorhomes churning up the fields. And speaking of churning up fields, it is going to mean that some of the park-ups you might have found in the summer down a dirt track road and stuff like that, you might not be able to get to in the winter because it's churning up to mud or something like that.
Yeah, and if you've got any pets and you're taking any pets with you, then that's another thing to try and think about when you are finding park-ups.
Yeah.
Because the constant drying down of coop
Yes.
with mud and wet when it's winter that is one thing that we do find tiresome, and that's why a lot of the time we choose to stay in car parks.
Yeah.
Where you can pay to stay overnight, just because it's so much easier with coop to do that. So we prefer to take the not so brilliant view.
Yeah.
And the convenience of not getting a muddy dog all the time.
Yeah, I've got a video about finding park-ups, how we find them, so there'll be a link up there. But as an example of what Mandy just said, we found most small towns allow you to park up overnight, or to buy a ticket that covers from a certain point at night to a certain point the next day, and you can stay there overnight for like £2 or £3.
Yeah.
And that's brought us out of a few situations where we wouldn't have had anywhere to stop, and if we had, we'd be walking mud in and out of the van, which is obviously just not an option really.
No.
And the last thing really, and this is probably the reason why you're thinking about buying a van or moving into a van you've already built or you've already bought, the van takes you wherever you want to go. If you've got the funds to put diesel in the tank,
or a way to earn funds on the road,
or you've got ability, you've got a passport and you can go into Europe, then the van will take you wherever you want to go. It'll take you to epic locations, it'll take you to see lovely people. The van life community is full of lovely people. The amount of people that we've met that we wouldn't particularly have been talking to had we had a house.
Yeah, we said hi to the neighbours. When we left the house, we said bye to 3 neighbours.
Yeah.
And we'd lived on that estate for 12 years. We knew everybody else and said hi and all of that stuff, but
everyone kind of keeps themselves to themselves.
Yeah, everyone's got their own lives to be getting on with and stuff. But in the van, we've met some spectacular people. We've met some people who have changed our lives and and are going to be in our lives for as long as we can think and move. Well, I don't think I've made those kind of friends since I was a kid. Since I was at school, and you kind of get to a point in your adult life where you think you're not going to. But having somebody who literally can understand everything that you say about the way of life you've chosen, it's worth its weight in gold. And 99% of people in vans are stellar people.
Yeah, they're chatty people.
Unbelievable.
They've got, like Mandy said, the same interests as you in the fact they live in a van. They might have a different view about politics, money, everything else, but the fact that they live in a van, you live in a van, that's the common ground. You'll start to share information and your own little experiences, and that'll bond you in a way you never thought was possible. And these people are a small little community, but from what we found, certainly over the last 3 years that we've been part-time and almost a year of full-time, is that everyone's always willing to help everyone else.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and people are just amazing, and it's like this kind of thing that you'd never meet these people otherwise. But everybody understands, it's the same kind of thing. You'd be going away with people, you don't like where you are, move.
Yeah.
Something isn't right about it.
Or the flip side of that one is, we've had a chat about a lot of occasions where we've parked up somewhere and it's been absolutely spectacular, and then someone will turn around and go, house up there, they've got the same view as you right now, and they've paid like a couple of $100,000 to sit there, and then in 3 or 4 days time, when you'll move to the next view that's epic, they can't. Well, you can in your van.
Yeah, they're stuck. I mean, it may be an absolutely epic view that they've chosen that house for, but that's the only view they're going to get. We can go and choose a different one, and instead park in front of houses that are worth a couple of £1 million.
Although we try to avoid parking directly in front of houses.
We just try to have the same view as them instead of being
on a
in their
hillside
way.
somewhere.
But yeah, it is wonderful that you can move your house up and down the country to many different countries to go and see all of these things, while still, if you're lucky enough to be able to do your job from there, and if not, you do, you take sabbaticals, do breaks, do whatever you can.
Use a little bit of savings that you might have left, pensions and all that kind of stuff. I mean, people might sit in the house and have a bottle of whiskey every couple of days and go and get some takeaway, and you will burn through your pension, whereas you can go in your van, go to France, spend like peanuts on French wine and French port and stuff like that, meet great people, stay on their farms for free, buy their cheap products, make a friend, and have experiences for the same money you'd have probably spent sat in your house
looking at the same four walls.
And
it's not for everybody. It really isn't. And I'm not saying that we're different in an exceptional way to anybody else. Some people just don't do that, and that's not what they want to do, and that's also absolutely fine. But if it is on your radar and it is something that you want to do, as long as you don't think it's all going to be good, because you will get disappointed really really easily if you do that. Set yourself up for thinking that you'll get days where all it is dark and dingy and rainy. Make sure you pack books and games and things you don't need the internet for, because you never know when you're going to have that either. And snuggle down in your van. It's okay to have chill days and not want to do anything else, and not leave the van if you don't have to.
And remember that the journey is not just about getting to the destination, it's about what you see along the way. And if you do that journey slowly and with small steps, that's not a bad thing. However, if you want to get from the middle of England to the south of France in as short a time as possible, that's 2 days drive, and then you're going to have the totally different perspective. So the journey and the destination, it's all under your control. You decide what you want to do, and if something really doesn't feel right and it doesn't sort of sit right with you, you can change it so easily.
Yeah, you can. And that is the most thing, the liberating part of it being ever changing, but it's all down to you, how you want it to change. Do it.
I mean, we've said this in the past, especially when around the time you can go and watch back our old videos about when we sold the house and why we did it and all that. And we said this, and other people have said it as well, is if you're thinking about doing it, just do it. I'd say exactly the same, but obviously I don't want to portray it as this glamorous, amazing thing. I want you to see there is a negative side to it, that some people's perspectives, like councils and other people who live in houses, oh my god, you live in a van, and there's people's perspectives on the fact that we don't pay council tax and stuff like that. We've had that, you've seen it on our channel.
And then there's also me, who I'm an inherent worrier. I worry about everything, and I have anxiety that goes through the roof, and I had all of that when I had my job and I had the house. And we had the house, and that's not gone away just because we're living in a van. I don't worry about those things anymore, but there are other things that I still worry about. So it's not an escapism to get away from anything that's part of a personality trait of yourself.
No,
that will still be there. So you still need to make sure, as we said before, you've got backup for it. That there are people who you can turn to if you need anything like that. And it's not a magic flick of the wrist that makes it all go away. Not
in our experience anyway, and that's why we wanted to share that, because a lot of people have said, like you say, like we've said, we're making this video because they've said, what about setting up and how do we do it and what's your advice, and then the other side of it is our experience, and we want to give you just a balanced view of it. And the worst thing I want to do is to tell someone we found it to be fantastic and we did this and we did that, and they watch our videos and they go, oh, it's amazing, people living our lives, you know, vicariously, and thinking, oh, I can do that. And then your reality is different than ours, and you think, oh, they've misled us or something, and that's not what we wanted to do at all. So
no, because it's not all good, but there's more good than bad.
Yes, in our view of it, definitely.
Because we found even on the dingiest days, we do rock paper scissors to see who's going to go get wet to take Coop out for a walk, and we find that fun. It literally is just sitting back and enjoying the small things, and then you'll find that the bigger things just are there, and it's wonderful. And
you find that most people who live in a van feel the same way. So I hope that's helped you in your decisions or your understanding of what it's like. I know it doesn't answer everything. I know you got questions about insurance and medical stuff and things like that, and we've answered those in other videos, but if you do have any questions, obviously you can always ask in the comments section down below, or send us an email via our website contact form.
Yeah, we are collating questions, because we do have a lot of the same questions that come in, but any ones that are new we are popping to one side, and then as soon as we have a decent number of those, we'll do a normal VanChat Tuesday where it's a Q&A instead. So if you do have any questions, then please just pop them down below, and we will answer them for you as soon as we've got enough ready to
make another video. Right then, from a very wet but still beautiful Ullapool,
yes,
we'll catch you on the next video.
We will.
Take care
guys.
Bye.